Most of you are familiar with the Orillia train station, but let's just do some history of the area. In 1872, the first locomotive made it from Barrie up here to Orillia, and that was the Northern Railway. And train service started in the spring of 1873. So now we have one railway company here in Orillia, and their train station was over on the bottom of Peter Street. But by 1873, a second railway came in, the Midland Railway, and it crossed the Narrows coming up from Beaverton and made its way over to Port McNicoll. So what happened right here behind the station where the two rails came together and made a Y. So we have the Northern Railway and the Midland Railway, which become the Grand Trunk Railway by 1888, and they built a station right here. Now that original station was built around 1900. Unfortunately, it burnt down. It was a wood building. It burnt down in 1916. So it was replaced by this brick building in 1917 as the train station. So right here is the real history of the rails and the commerce and the establishment of rail service here in Orillia. So 1917 building here, and then by 1913, a third railway come through, the CPR, over towards the Lake Moor, and it ran up, and the train station was where the Legion is now. So 3 railways crossing over at the Narrows at one time, but where we're standing right here is the beginning of the rail station. So we have a historical component here. We have an architectural component, 1917 building. But what I really want to show you is an environmental feature that has developed here. And in order to do that, we have to go back to where the tracks were. So let's take a walk back in behind the train station, and I'll show you some interesting grasses. I'm now standing behind the train station where the two main railway lines merge. So we see the 1872 Northern line over here to my right, and then coming over to the left we have the 1873 Midland Railway that would go on out to Port McNicoll. And this is where the two lines came together and ran beside each other over the Narrows. But right here at the junction is this interesting grass called big blue stem grass. It's a prairie grass, and prairie grasses are so important. They stabilize sandy areas. This has a lot of sand and fill in here. And this grass probably fell off one of the box cars from the west of the train and cargo moving through, and has really established itself here. So you can see big stands of it here, and you can see how tall it is. It's over 6 feet tall. Big blue stem is one of the tallest of the prairie grasses. There's little blue stem, there's Indian grass, there's prairie dropseed, there's prairie sandreed. There's so many prairie grasses that form these areas to stabilize the soil. And in that we get some prairie flowers too. Things like blazing stars and cup plants and coreopsis and sunflowers, a really profusion of colors. So what happens is these prairie plots are so important with the grasses and the prairie plants, low maintenance and very functional for wildlife. and this would make a perfect location to do a prairie plot. Prairie grass stands are very important here in Simcoe County. We see them on every First Nation portage, usually at the front or the back of the portage where they come off. We find them down at the Holland Landing, we find them up at the Narrows, and these grasses established. So it's really interesting that these grasses have established in behind the train station here and makes a wonderful start for a tall prairie grass park, which would give you the environmental aspect, the historical aspect of the train station and the train tracks, and also the architectural and the fact that the 1917 building here.